Hey everyone, so just wanted to do a quick recap on some of the things that we've touched on in class this week to help give you a hand for your homework, and also some of the things that weren't in the Open Refine videos from last week. So I'm just going to go ahead and pop up my data set here and just to highlight a few of the features. So one of the things that had come up as a question is, if I found something interesting in my faceting process, is there a way to capture those values? And I just want to kind of highlight here some of the things we mentioned, that if I, within my facet, my existing facet, if I choose this choice count, the 150 choices or whatever the value is, it's actually going to take that data and it's going to export it for me as a tab separated text file. This of course I can keep as a .txt, or I can save it as a TSV. I could bring it into another program, perhaps Microsoft Excel or something similar, to generate a bar chart to create a histogram, basically to see how those sort of what the distribution is, right? I mean, that's what we do with our histograms. So that's a way to preserve that that information. Likewise, if I want to see a quick histogram as generated of those choice counts as generated by Open Refine, I can do so just by choosing this facet by choice counts. And you can see that this gives me a numeric facet. It's actually kind of interesting here. We see this this sort of increase because, of course, it's not sorted by it seems to be sorted alphabetically at the moment. But I can kind of get this this distribution. We see this steady increase in value and number of instances. So again, just a quick sort of review on that. Also wanted to note that, for example, if we had done something, if we had a view that we wanted to preserve that included a particular subselection within facets, and of course I could have as many facets going here as I so desire, I can do that by simply choosing the permalink option at the top here. So when I click permalink, what it's going to do is actually transform this URL into a link, basically a direct link to this view of our data. So I can see that if I take this and I pop it into a new tab, I can still pull it up. Now, one little caveat to this, of course, is that Open Refine operates on our computer via the web browser. It actually, when it opens, when it starts, what it does is when you double click on it, it actually starts up your local web server. And we mentioned in class that this is the location of that web server, this 127.0.0.1:3333. In order for this link to work, A, you need to be on your own computer where the project was generated, and B, you do have to have Open Refine running somewhere in the background, because otherwise that server will not be running and it won't produce this. But again, as you're creating your process documents, if sub-selecting within a facet yields something interesting and you want to make a note of it using this permalink, now this link won't necessarily update instantly. I would have to then make sure that I regenerate that permalink. Likewise, if I want to capture the subset that I have selected, all I have to do is export. So that's a really nice feature of Open Refine, is that it is a sort of what you see is what you get in that sense. So in this case, I would just get these 4 rows that are currently selected, and it gives me that sort of that measure there of how many total rows I have. So now going back to, or rather moving on to the discussion of our regular expressions, one thing that I want to be sure is, you notice I just sort of closed out these facet counts. You want to be sure that you don't have any subselections going when you build your regular expressions, otherwise you might get unexpected results. So make sure that your facet pane is, if not actually empty, then at least doesn't have any of those orange highlights, right? We haven't actually sub-selected out of our full data set. And just want to kind of note that, as we discussed, you guys kind of all get a freebie on your assignment here, because as you can see, this is a weird one. I've actually done something strange to this. I'm going to go back and get a different data set. Let's look at this one. I've sort of given all of you a freebie in that, yes, you are allowed to have exactly one of your submitted regular expressions be this sort of generic, find this word anywhere type of construction. So mouse being a favorite, that will work just fine. You're going to want to preserve for yourself, in the is not null. Now, remember, in turning in your assignment, you don't need to provide us with this whole thing. What we're really concerned with is this part, right? The actual just guts of the regular expression. In addition to that, the other information, getting the other information along with that will give us what we need to sort of check your progress here. Now, that being said, we're not necessarily looking for insight to be generated on the basis of these regular expressions that you create. We just want them to be correct. It's just practice. It's just to give you guys practice creating them. And one way that you can do that is, you can take something. You can choose to solve a particular expression problem in a different way. So, as an example, one thing that works for matching, I could, if I wanted to say capture everything that, that has 2008 in it, certainly I could do this as my regular expression, but I could also do something like this, right? It has 2 zeros. I could note that it is always at the beginning of the regular expression, although it's interesting because I seem to have some issues. Yeah, sometimes it seems to actually have some problems like updating properly, so I'm going to go ahead and get out of that. I noticed this actually the last time that I was doing this. It seemed to, oh, this might actually, this is interesting. So let's go ahead and look at this. Let's see if 2008. Yeah, so I think actually this is an interesting issue, and I think a few of you may have come across this, so I'm going to try this one, and we're going to test my hypothesis here. Match, and let's do 2008. Yeah, okay, so what you're going to want to do, and actually I'm surprised we haven't mentioned this yet, but if you notice here on this inspection date field, you see how it's green, and you might also notice the establishment number is green. So green is very often in programs, typography is a way of letting us know information about what the computer thinks is going on. And in this case, OpenRefine uses green to indicate that it thinks that something is a number, right? I see this as a number, not as a string. So regular expressions are not going to necessarily work as expected on data that it thinks is a number. And in fact, I'm sort of curious. Yeah, so I can get it to match anything. So that does okay. But see, it's not really seeing that 2 be a 2. So what you're going to want to do to just save your brain here is you want to do all of your facet, you want to do all of your regular expressions on things that are in black, or you can always convert it. So one of the things you'll see is there is a transformation somewhere in here. Edit column. Somewhere is a common transformations. Yes, here we go. Edit cells, transform, common transforms. And so what you can see here is it's going to say, oh, okay, there's all this stuff. I am going to convert this to text. And, oh, interestingly, it was a date format, and so it's now actually shrunk it down to, like, the date. That's something you actually see happen in Excel a lot, too. I personally find it kind of annoying. Anyhow, this is going to give you a mechanism for doing it. So if I were to use something like trans time, this is a better moment at which to sort of demonstrate this. But, again, not too concerned with the sort of end value product that you get here. Just want to see you kind of solve these problems in different ways. So, for example, if I wanted to capture everything that was 2012, well, I could say, okay, it needs to start with 2012, and then it needs to have, 2 digits, oops, 2 digits, and then a dash, and then 2 digits, and then, some other stuff. And that is an error. Right, and now we see that this gets matched, and maybe there's something in here that doesn't, but yeah, those are all the same. Anyhow, I think hopefully you sort of get the idea, so that what we're looking for is something that shows a little bit more elaborate use of the various features of regular expressions. I could also do it as a not 2012. But you get the idea. So again, 3 of those due by Friday. We will want your original file. All of that is explained on Piazza. If you have any remaining questions, of course, I'm currently holding office hours. I'll have office hours tomorrow afternoon as well, and of course you can always post your questions to Piazza. And I look forward to seeing you guys a little later on.